Mike Johnson was driving his truck down the state highway on a stormy night when he saw something that made his heart sink. On the side of the road, soaked by the torrential rain and shivering with cold, there was a small puppy of about 2 months, trying to take shelter under a road sign. The animal was clearly abandoned, skinny and scared, looking at the passing cars as if begging for help. Mike could have continued his journey. After all, he had an important cargo to deliver and was already late because of the rain. But something in those desperate little eyes of the puppy made him stop. He had no idea that this split-second decision would change his life forever, bringing a surprise that not even in his wildest dreams he could predict. Mike Johnson, 45 years old, had been a truck driver for over 20 years. He had started the profession young, following in his father's footsteps, and knew the American highways like few others. He was a simple, honest, and hard-working man, known by his colleagues as someone who could be trusted. He lived alone in a small house on the outskirts of Chicago. He had divorced 5 years ago after his wife got tired of the long absences that the profession demanded. The marriage had no children, and since then Mike lived a solitary life, having as his only company his audiobooks and radio conversations with other truckers during trips. His routine was always the same: pick up a load, drive for days to the destination, unload, and look for a new load for the way back. He slept in the truck cabin, had his meals at gas stations and roadside diners, and kept in touch with the world through a simple cell phone. Mike wasn't a rich man, but he managed to pay his bills and still had some left over to keep the truck maintained. He owned the vehicle, a 2015 model he had bought with much sacrifice and cared for as if it were a son. That specific night, Mike was returning from a delivery in Ohio and was heading to Illinois to pick up a new load. The rain had started in the late afternoon and only got worse, forcing him to slow down and turn on the fog lights. It was around 10 p.m. when Mike spotted the small animal on the roadside. At first, he thought it was just a garbage bag, but when the headlight beam illuminated better, he realized it was a puppy. "My God," Mike murmured, stepping on the brake. "What bastard abandoned this little guy here?" The place was dangerous to stop, a curve on the road with poor visibility because of the rain. But Mike couldn't keep going. He turned on the hazard lights, grabbed his rain cape, and got out of the truck. The puppy was a mixed breed with light fur, but was so dirty and wet that it was hard to define the exact color. When he saw Mike approaching, the animal didn't run away. On the contrary, it started wagging its little tail weakly, as if it knew that finally someone had stopped to help. "Come here, little guy," Mike said, extending his hand. "I won't hurt you." The puppy approached slowly, shaking not only from cold, but apparently from fear, too. Mike picked him up carefully and was shocked to feel how skinny the animal was. You could feel the ribs through the skin. "How long have you been here, buddy?" Mike spoke softly while carrying the puppy to the truck cabin. "You're in terrible shape." Inside the cabin, Mike wrapped the dog in an old towel he used to dry his hands. The animal kept shaking, but now his eyes showed more relief than fear. Mike always kept some crackers and water in the truck for his own meals. He broke a cracker into small pieces and offered it to the puppy, who devoured everything in seconds, clearly starving. "Easy there, little guy. You can't eat too much at once or you'll get sick," Mike said, controlling the portions. "Tomorrow, we'll get you some proper food." The dog snuggled next to Mike on the driver's seat, and for the first time in a long time, the trucker felt he wasn't completely alone in his cabin. Mike resumed the trip, driving even more carefully because of his unexpected passenger. During the journey, he talked to the animal as if it understood every word. "You know, buddy, it's been a while since I had company. I think you appeared in my life for a reason." Mike stopped to rest at a gas station around 2 a.m. The rain had decreased, but a light drizzle was still falling. He bought puppy food at the station, which luckily sold some pet products, and a small plastic bowl to serve water. In the truck cabin, he improvised a bed for the puppy using a cardboard box and some old clothes. The dog ate the food voraciously, drank plenty of water, and then snuggled into the box. "I need to come up with a name for you," Mike said, watching the animal that already seemed more relaxed. "How about Max? You look like a Max." As if understanding, the puppy wagged its tail and closed its little eyes to sleep. Mike also slept better that night than he had in months. There was something comforting about knowing he wasn't alone. In the following days, Mike and Max became inseparable. The dog quickly adapted to life on the road. During the day, he stayed in the passenger seat watching the landscape, and Mike had improvised a small leash to ensure his safety. Mike made sure to stop at a veterinary clinic in the first city he passed. The veterinarian, Dr. Patricia, examined Max and estimated he was about 2 months old. He was malnourished, but nothing that can't be solved with good nutrition, Dr. Patricia said. "He's a healthy and very intelligent puppy. You did a good deed saving him." "Doctor, do you think he had an owner? I don't want to be taking someone's dog." By the condition he was in, he was clearly abandoned. Unfortunately, it's very common. "You can rest easy." Mike left the veterinary clinic with Max vaccinated, dewormed, and with a new collar. He also bought toys, a proper bed, and quality food. With Max as company, Mike's life changed completely. The long trips were no longer lonely. He talked to the dog, who seemed to understand everything and responded with barks and tail movements. Max was extremely intelligent. In a few days, he learned to do his business on newspaper during trips, to behave at gas stations, and not to bark when Mike was sleeping. But the most impressive thing was how the dog seemed to have a special instinct. On several occasions, Max got agitated or whining before Mike encountered problems on the road, accidents, traffic jams, or even when the truck started showing some defect. "You really are special, aren't you, Max?" Mike would say, beginning to believe the dog had uncommon abilities. The fellow truckers he met at stations began to know Max and always asked about him. The dog became a small celebrity among the drivers in the region. 3 months after the rescue, Max had transformed into a beautiful and healthy young dog. His fur, now well cared for, was golden with white spots, and his brown eyes shone with intelligence and affection. Mike was happier than he had been in years. He had a faithful companion, a more pleasant routine, and even his health had improved. He walked more to exercise Max and ate at more regular hours. It was on a Thursday morning during a stop for refueling at a station on Interstate 80 that Mike's life would take a completely unexpected direction. Mike was checking the truck's tires when he noticed a strange movement. Max, who normally stayed calm during stops, was extremely agitated, barking and pulling the leash toward a luxury car parked at the station. "Calm down, Max. What's wrong, boy?" Mike tried to calm the dog, but he kept barking insistently. From the luxury car stepped an elegant man, approximately 60 years old, wearing an expensive suit and dark glasses. When he saw Max, the man stopped immediately, took off his glasses, and stared at the dog. "It can't be," the man murmured, approaching slowly. "Excuse me," the elegant man said to Mike. "May I ask where you got this dog?" Mike immediately became defensive. "Why? Is there a problem?" "No, it's not a problem. It's just that he looks very much like a dog I lost a few months ago." The man crouched down and called, "Buddy! Buddy, is that you?" Max stopped barking immediately and ran toward the man, jumping and wagging his tail with an intensity Mike had never seen. "My God, it's really him!" exclaimed the man with tears in his eyes. "Buddy, my boy!" Mike felt his heart sink. After 3 months caring for Max with so much affection, discovering he had an owner was devastating. "Are you sure?" Mike asked. "Still hoping it was a mistake. I'm absolutely sure. Look at this heart-shaped mark on his left ear. Buddy was born with it." Mike looked and confirmed. Max really had a small heart-shaped mark on his ear, something he had noticed but thought was just a natural characteristic. The man introduced himself as Dr. Edward Thompson, retired veterinarian and owner of a veterinary clinic on the south side of Chicago. "Buddy ran away from home 4 months ago," Dr. Edward explained. My wife was in the garden with him when some delivery men arrived. In the confusion, the gate was left open and Buddy ran out. We never found him again. We looked everywhere, put up posters, offered rewards, even hired a detective specialized in finding lost animals. My wife, Cecilia, got sick from crying so much. Buddy was like a son to us. Mike listened in silence, watching how Maxie Buddy was clearly happy to reunite with his original owner. "How did he end up so far from Chicago?" Mike asked. "We don't know. Maybe he got into some moving truck or delivery vehicle and ended up being transported accidentally. What's important is that he's well and healthy thanks to you." Dr. Edward looked at Mike with gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you for what you did. You cared for my buddy as if he were your own son." Mike was torn between the joy of knowing Max had a family that loved him and the sadness of having to separate from the companion who had transformed his life. "Doctor," Mike said, "I won't lie that I'm sad. These 3 months with Max, Buddy, were the best of my life. But I know he has a family that loves him." "Max?" Dr. Edward asked. "That's the name I gave him. I thought it was a strong name for a brave dog." Dr. Edward smiled. "Max is a good name, too. You know, Buddy always brought joy to our family. My wife says he's our guardian angel." At that moment, Buddy ran back to Mike, climbed on his leg, and looked at him with those caring eyes he knew so well. "I think he's trying to tell us something," Dr. Edward observed. Dr. Edward was thoughtful for a few minutes, watching the interaction between Mike and Buddy. "Mr. Mike Johnson. Mr. Mike, may I ask you a personal question? Do you have family?" "No, doctor. I live alone. I'm a trucker. I spend my life on the road." "And do you plan to continue as a trucker?" Mike found the question strange. "It's what I know how to do, doctor. Why?" Dr. Edward looked again at Buddy, who continued dividing attention between the two men. "Mr. Mike, may I make an unusual proposal? Would you like to work for me?" "What do you mean?" "I have a large veterinary clinic with hospitalization, surgeries, pet hotel. I need someone trustworthy to take care of logistics, pick up medications, take animals for exams at other clinics, transport food and equipment." Mike was confused. "But doctor, I don't understand anything about veterinary medicine." "You don't need to understand. I need someone honest, responsible, and who likes animals. From what I see, you have those 3 qualities." Dr. Edward continued, "You know, Mr. Mike, I didn't tell the whole truth. My clinic isn't just a common clinic. It's one of the largest veterinary hospital networks in Illinois." Mike was surprised. "A network?" "I have 12 units spread throughout the Chicago area. I need someone to coordinate all the logistics between them. The salary would be $8,000 a month, plus meal vouchers, health insurance, and a house to live in." "Behind the main clinic." $8,000? Mike almost choked. As a trucker, he earned between $3,000 and $4,000 a month when he could find work. "And there's more." Dr. Edward smiled. "Buddy could stay with us during the day and with you at night. It would be like shared custody." Mike looked at Buddy, who seemed to be understanding the conversation and was wagging his tail. "Why are you doing this?" Mike asked. "You don't even know me." "Mr. Mike, in 40 years as a veterinarian, I learned to identify special people. Anyone who finds an abandoned puppy in the rain and cares for it like you did is a person of character. And besides..." Dr. Edward hesitated. "Besides what?" "My wife always said that when we found Buddy, we would also find something special along with him. Maybe that was you." Mike was in shock. In a matter of minutes, his life had taken a complete turn. Not only would he be reunited with Max Buddy, but he would have a professional opportunity he had never dreamed of. "Doctor, is this really serious?" "Completely serious. I can call my wife now and she can prepare everything for you to start next week." Mike looked at his truck, then at Buddy, then at Dr. Edward. "Doctor, I accept, but only if you promise me one thing." "What?" "I want to keep calling him Max sometimes. After all, it was as Max that he changed my life." Dr. Edward laughed. "You can call him whatever you want. He responded to both names today." Almost as if understanding, Buddy barked happily and ran in circles around the two men. A week later, Mike was living in a comfortable house behind Dr. Edwards' main veterinary clinic, located in an upscale neighborhood of Chicago. His job consisted of coordinating transport between the 12 network units, ensuring medications and equipment arrived where they needed to, and occasionally transporting animals that needed special care. Buddy Max adapted perfectly to the new routine. During the day, he stayed at the clinic playing with other animals and being spoiled by the entire staff. At night, he slept at Mike's house, like in the old days on the road. Dr. Edwards' wife, Mrs. Cecilia, welcomed Mike as if he were a son. She made sure to invite him for dinner at the main house at least twice a week and treated him like part of the family. "Mike," Mrs. Cecilia said on one of these occasions, "you saved our Buddy, but you also saved our family. We were just a couple of sad old people. Now we have you and Buddy, and we feel complete." 6 months after the meeting at the gas station, Mike barely recognized his own life. He had gone from being a lonely trucker to becoming logistics coordinator of a prosperous company, had a comfortable house, health insurance, and most importantly, a family. Buddy had grown and become a beautiful and healthy dog, known throughout the clinic for his intelligence and gentle personality. He really seemed to understand that he had two families who loved him. Dr. Edward was so impressed with Mike's dedication and honesty that he began including him in important decisions about the company. "Mike," Dr. Edward said one morning, "I'm thinking about retiring in the next few years. I'd like you to consider studying business administration. Maybe you could take over the operational management of the network." Mike, who at 45 had never thought about going to college, was moved by the proposal. 1 year after saving Buddy in the rain, Mike was studying business administration at a private university, paid for by Dr. Edward, and had become a fundamental person in the clinic's operation. The network had grown to 15 units, and Mike was responsible for all logistics and operations. His salary had increased to $12,000, and he had profit participation in the company. Buddy, now a magnificent adult dog, had become the official mascot of the clinic network and even appeared in advertising campaigns. On a Sunday morning, Mike was in the clinic garden playing with Buddy when Dr. Edward approached with a folder of documents. "Mike, I need to talk to you about something important." "What's up, doctor?" "Cecilia and I don't have children. You've become like a son to us this past year." Mike was moved. "You're like parents to me, too." Dr. Edward opened the folder. "That's why we want to make an official proposal. These are documents to make you a minority partner in the company. 20% of all clinics will be yours." Mike almost fainted. "Doctor, it's fair. You transformed. Our company brought efficiency, growth, and most importantly, brought joy to our lives." Buddy, as if understanding the importance of the moment, barked happily and ran in circles. "And there's one more surprise," Dr. Edwards said, smiling. "More? Cecilia and I are planning a 6-month trip to Europe. I'd like you to take over complete management of the company during our absence." Mike was speechless. From lonely trucker to partner in a multi-million-dollar company in just 1 year. "And Buddy?" Mike asked. "Buddy stays with you, of course. He chose you as much as we chose you." Buddy ran to Mike and climbed on his legs, licking his face like he had done since that first night in the truck cabin. 5 years after that rainy night, Mike had graduated in business administration with honors. The veterinary clinics had expanded to 25 units in 3 states, and he had become majority partner of the company. Dr. Edward and Mrs. Cecilia had officially retired, but continued living on the property and participating in important decisions as consultants. Mike, now 50 years old, was a respected businessman in the veterinary sector, but never forgot his origins. He created a social program where the company offered free veterinary treatment for animals from low-income families. Buddy, now 6 years old, continued being the company's mascot and had his own social media account, where his rescue story inspired thousands of people. In an interview for a business magazine, Mike was asked about the secret of his success. "There's no secret," Mike replied. "I just did what any decent person would do. I helped an animal in need. The rest was consequence." "And what did you learn from this whole experience?" "I learned that sometimes life's greatest treasures come disguised as small acts of kindness. When I stopped to save Buddy that night, I thought I was just saving a dog. Actually, I was saving my own life." Buddy, who was present at the interview, approached Mike and laid his head on his lap, as he did every night before sleeping. "And does Buddy still bring luck to you?" Mike smiled, petting the dog's head. "Buddy didn't bring luck. Buddy brought love, family, purpose. He brought a life I didn't even know was possible." Today, the veterinary clinic network run by Mike is one of the largest in the country. Dr. Edward and Mrs. Cecilia continue being like parents to him, and Buddy continues being his faithful companion. Mike never married again, but says he doesn't feel alone. He has a chosen family, a job he loves, and a dog that changed his life. Every time he sees an abandoned animal on the street, Mike stops to help. "You never know," he usually says, "what surprise life might have prepared for us." And so, the story of the trucker who stopped to save a dog in the rain became a legend about how a simple act of kindness can completely transform a person's destiny. So what did you think of this incredible story about how a simple gesture of kindness can transform an entire life? Did Mike make the right choice by stopping to save the dog, even though he was running late? Leave your opinion in the comments, and always remember, life's greatest treasures often come disguised as small gestures of love and compassion. When we help someone, whether human or animal, without expecting anything in return, the universe has mysterious ways of rewarding us. Never underestimate the power of an act of kindness. Sometimes, saving a life can mean saving our own life, too. If you liked this emotional story about compassion, family, and transformation, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our stories that show there's still goodness in the world. And hit that notification bell to be the first to watch. See you in the next story.